Austin has become one of the most talked about cities in America. People come here for the food, the live music, the nightlife, and the whole keep Austin weird vibe. But lately, I've been hearing a different story. People say it's gotten expensive, too crowded, too many tech bros. Some even say Austin isn't what it used to be. So when 10 of us planned a long weekend here, we decided to find out for ourselves. We spent 3 days doing what most visitors actually do. 6th Street, Rainey Street, barbecue, comedy clubs, honky tonks, rooftop bars, hiking trails, way too many tacos, and probably more Lone Star than any doctor would recommend. Some places completely lived up to the hype, others didn't. And the thing we almost skipped ended up being one of the best parts of the entire trip. So if you're wondering whether Austin is still worth visiting, here's what we learned. Welcome to Austin, the weird heart of Texas. A city that balances a booming high-tech frontier with smoky barbecue pits and legendary dive bars. Our crew of 10 guys were staying at a huge Airbnb party house on 6th Street called In Cahoots. Outside, there was a big outdoor beer garden, live music, and multiple bars right on site. Inside, there was a large common area downstairs for having parties, and upstairs there were 5 double bedrooms perfect for sleeping off that hangover. We kicked things off by walking down 6th Street into downtown. First order of business was grabbing a few Lone Star beers to wet our whistles. Lone Star is the cheap local Texas beer you can find pretty much everywhere in the city, and it quickly became our official drink of the weekend. But the real reason we were here was right across the street. We had reservations at Joe Rogan's Comedy Mothership. The style of comedy here leans pretty anti-PC, so if you're easily offended, this might not be your scene. The club makes you lock your phone in those magnetic pouches, so I couldn't film anything inside, but it was a great experience, and if you're a comedy fan, I'd put this firmly in the worth it category. After the Comedy Mothership, we Ubered over to East 6th Street to keep the night going. Our next stop was the White Horse. If you're visiting Austin, this place is kind of a must. It's a legendary honky tonk dance bar. Inside, there's a live band playing classic country while dozens of people dressed in full Texas honky tonk wear spin their partners around the dance floor. Boots, hats, belt buckles. It feels old school, but somehow still modern and cool at the same time. For me, this was one of the most uniquely Austin experiences of the whole weekend. After the White Horse, we ended up nearby at a bar called Mother's Ruin on East 6th. This place had a younger crowd, more college and more professional types, definitely louder and rowdier, but it was a fun scene. Eventually, the night wound down the only way it probably should in Austin, with street tacos. Austin has a chain of tiny taco trucks called Taco Way, and these guys are absolute masters at what they do.
Load it up, whatever.
Honestly, I think these might have been the best tacos we had all weekend. There are a few Taco Way trucks scattered around the city, and if you see one, don't skip it, especially after the bar. This ended up being one of the easiest recommendations from the entire trip. That was the perfect ending to our first night. After that, we walked back to our Airbnb, called it a night around 1 a.m. The next morning started with some pretty solid hangovers, so naturally we tried to cure them the traditional Austin way, with breakfast tacos. We went to a spot near our Airbnb called Cenote on East 6th. The breakfast tacos were good, the burritos were solid, and the coffee definitely was a lifesaver. But after a full night of drinking and tacos, we figured we probably needed to do something besides eat and drink for 3 straight days. So a few of us grabbed an Uber and headed to the west side of Austin for a hike. And the hike we were headed to ended up being one of the best surprises of the trip. It's a trail called Hill of Life. We started at the Campcraft Road entrance and hiked the trail down until it reached Barton Creek. The weather was warm and the creek was gently flowing. After all the noise and chaos of the city, it was a surprisingly peaceful moment. Of course, the catch with the Hill of Life is that the entire hike back is uphill. And after a night of Lone Stars and tacos, we definitely felt it.
Sweating out Lone Stars.
Definitely smell it.
Still, it was good to get outside, sweat a little, and accomplish something besides drinking. If you go, bring water and good shoes. The trail's pretty rocky. After the hike, we met up with the rest of our crew at a bar called the Stay Put on Rainey Street. Rainey Street is one of Austin's most famous nightlife districts, and honestly, I was curious to see how much it had changed since my last visit.
Here at Rainey Street, this place has completely transformed since the last time I was here 10 years ago. It's all built up with huge buildings around here. It felt more like a neighborhood before. Now it's definitely something else.
That said, there's still plenty of great bars and restaurants here. And if you're visiting Austin, Rainey Street is a must-hit nightlife area.
Just like riding a bike.
After working up an appetite at Rainey Street, we headed over to Terry Black's Barbecue, which is one of Austin's most iconic barbecue spots. This place is famously crowded, but we showed up around 3 p.m. on a Friday, and luckily the line wasn't too bad. The setup is basically an assembly line. Grab your sides first, and then move down the counter while they slice the meats you want and weigh them out by the third of the pound. The food looked incredible, but it was a little pricey. My tray with a modest amount of meat and coleslaw came out to $55. The barbecue was good, but a few guys in our group had gone to Franklin Barbecue earlier in the trip, and they all agreed Franklin was even better. Terry Black's is worth visiting, but you might want to try Franklin first. After Terry Black's, we were thirsty again, so we went back to Mother's Ruin, which started to become our unofficial home base, mostly because it was close to our Airbnb, and we started making friends with the bartender. Later that night, we went back to In Cahoots and watched the band play in the beer garden for a while, and then stopped at the little speakeasy on the first floor. We pre-gamed with a few pours of Pappy Van Winkle and some Negronis, but we had somewhere special to go next. Our group reserved the rooftop bar at In Cahoots called If You Know, You Know. We actually debated canceling this because we weren't sure if it was worth our time, but we were glad we did it because in the end it ended up being one of the coolest experiences of the whole trip. For about a half an hour before they opened to the public, we had the entire rooftop to ourselves. 10 friends who have known each other for decades, just sitting there catching up on old stories and laughing about life. And honestly, in that moment, I realized this is exactly what trips like this are supposed to be about. Definitely one of the highlights of the weekend. Around 10 p.m., we were trying to figure out what to do next, and eventually we landed on the obvious solution, a bar crawl. East 6th Street has probably a dozen bars within just a few blocks. Our first stop was Uptown Sports Club, which ended up being one of my favorite places on 6th Street. From the outside, it looks pretty unassuming, but inside there's a beautiful marble bar and a surprisingly great food menu. We had a few drinks and shared some snacks. Onion dip with homemade chips, oysters on the half shell, and a raw fish dish that was actually really good. Next, we stopped at the Lucky Duck, which had a huge outdoor patio absolutely packed with college kids. Some groups our age might feel a little out of place somewhere like that, but honestly, you're never too old to have a good time. Our last stop of the night was the Low Down Lounge, which ended up being the final bar of the evening. 3 bars and a 10 p.m. shuffle is a pretty respectable showing for a bunch of middle-aged guys, especially considering we had basically been drinking all day. And of course, we closed the night out the same way we did the first one. Another stop at Taco Way. Still just as good. Saturday morning started with more breakfast tacos. Granny's is one of the highest rated taco spots in East Austin, but honestly, it was okay. Solid, nothing mind-blowing. I went with the Migas taco, which is scrambled eggs with tortilla strips. Our plan that day was to do another hike around Lady Bird Lake, but then the weather completely flipped. It started pouring rain and the forecast said it would keep raining most of the day, so we pivoted.
All right, stopped raining, which is a good sign. I stopped at Whole Foods and I got some more Lone Stars. I think we're gonna set up shop at the Airbnb for a little while.
When the rain finally slowed down, we walked about 20 minutes back to Rainey Street, of all places, to check out a few other bars. Our first stop was Half Step, which ended up being one of my favorite cocktail bars of the weekend. Our group ordered a few more Pappy Van Winkle pours, along with the trusty Lone Stars, and at some point someone convinced us to try these shots called baby beers. After that, we made a quick stop at Victory Lap, and then Ubered back to East 6 for dinner. By this point, our group had reached its absolute limit with tacos and barbecue, so we decided to mix things up and try something different. Detroit-style pizza. We went to Via 313, which had been highly rated after Dave Portnoy from Barstool reviewed it on the One Bite Pizza Reviews. And honestly, it didn't disappoint.
Well, it sure is raining. Headed to Roscoe's Comedy Club. I lost the group, and it just started pouring.
From there, we walked around the block to another comedy club called Roscoe's. Comedians were decent, but overall it wasn't quite as good as the experience we had at the Comedy Mothership. By this point, our group was starting to feel our age. After 3 solid days of drinking, eating, hiking, and exploring Austin, we headed back to the Airbnb for a few final quiet Lone Stars before everyone flew home the next day. And that was the weekend. So, is Austin still worth visiting? I'd say yeah. Not because every place we went to was amazing, some were better than others, but Austin still feels like a city where you can have a genuinely great weekend without trying too hard. The comedy lived up to the hype, the nightlife was fun, the tacos were excellent, and the one experience we almost canceled ended up becoming one of the highlights of the entire trip. If you're planning a trip to Austin, my advice would be simple. Hit the famous spots, but leave room for a few surprises too. Those ended up being some of our favorite memories. And if you enjoyed coming along for this ride, consider subscribing. There are plenty more adventures on the way.